Give us the story about how Keith Shockey, right, wherever you want to pick it up at, became at Havoc on Mixer.
In a very generous way of putting it, I didn't really know about online gaming for a long time. I mean, I started on like any basics, Sega, PlayStation, all the other crap. But what grew it was when I did my first enlistment in the Navy. My brother, he when I got back home, he introduced me to the Halo concept, Halo 2, and I was like, all right.
Yeah.
So
And without completely dating yourself, when was this? Like what Halo?
Halo 2
Okay.
was 2000, what is that, 6, 7 time
Okay.
frame? I
Yeah.
think so. Yeah, so I mean, I've been gaming for a long time. Before that, though, I would say, and it went further than that, but it came down to connecting with my brother and a close friend. Unfortunately, I'm not close with anymore, but we all connected that way. So we just was like just play online all the time, and then it just with technology growing as it is still to this day, we decided to just keep doing it. I mean, it went from being just us to like having like what you've asked before in the past, like who's these KOD people? And it was a clan I was affiliated with for ever, over a decade, it seemed like. And
More of a competitive type clan or
kind of, and not really. I mean, it was
yeah,
more of just putting your stamp on the world, I guess you could say, because everybody's
sure.
putting themselves out. I'm this clan or that clan or whatever.
Right.
I
Yeah. I
mean,
do
like
remember that was a big trend back then was, I mean, even we even had
super
one
big,
too. Like you just had a clan. Yeah.
crazy. So we did that and that general consensus of just doing it, and then it kind of took off more being a clan when the Destiny time frame came out. So it basically came down to that. Um, I mean, for those that don't know, obviously I've been serving in the military on and off for almost 15 years. Yes, I'm going to retire. I'm going to, but not for some time until they kick me out, basically, because I want to make sure to get a great retirement check.
Mm-hmm.
But the gaming industry side of it, I really didn't know about streaming up until, I mean, a year and a half ago, maybe somebody brought it up to me talking about it. I mean, I've been on
Okay.
Twitch. I mean, that's the biggest one that everybody knows about. And I
Sure.
went on there, and that's actually where I started. I
Okay.
mean, I started on Twitch for about a month, and then
Yeah.
um, Xbox came out. You leave your screen just frozen. I had some friends that I didn't know streamed, and it showed them on there streaming. I'm like, where are they streaming from? So I click
Yeah.
it, and it took me to Mixer, and I was like, oh, okay, I didn't know that was a thing. I had a conversation with a good friend of mine named KOD Joy, and he was like, dude, you should have been doing this a long time ago. And I was like, okay. So my general basis of everything, like everybody's probably done, is started with like an Xbox, a screen, and streamed from Xbox with no
Right.
webcam, like no
Right.
mic, no
Yep.
nothing. So that's literally what I did, and that's how that went.
How was the first month on Twitch?
Honestly, unpleasant. I mean,
Okay.
I guess
Yeah.
you could, I wouldn't say unpleasant. It was just more of like everybody goes through where you don't get anybody in your channel. You don't know how. Plus, and
Right.
I'm just guessing here, but most of Twitch players are PC related. I mean, if you look at
Yeah.
Mixer, which was I think something else before Beam or something, or whatever
Couldn't
the
tell
heck
you.
the name was,
Couldn't tell you.
it was this Mixer concept is based off of consoles. PC is not. I mean,
Yes.
PC is more in filtering in, but
Yep.
PlayStation and Xbox, we drive Mixer. That's where it comes to. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
now it's getting saturated more PC players because the bigger name players come over, Shroud, Ninja.
Right. Right.
That's awesome. It brings more people over. But that's kind of where I was like, oh, it's probably better anyways, because in Twitch, I had no idea what I was doing. It was not user friendly to me. Of course, I mean, I was new to it, but no different from me being new to Mixer, and it was easier for me to do
Yeah.
Mixer than it was actually Twitch. So
Yeah.
went over to Mixer.
Yeah, that and I know too. I mean, you think about, and this is going to be part of our conversation here tonight, but you think about just the number of viewers that we get up top of some of these big games over here on Mixer. I mean, it's pales in comparison
Right.
to what some of those people over on Twitch are working with. So again, especially if you're new, and I've even thought this for a long time. I've thought that Mixer is probably is far superior if you want to get started from a community standpoint, from an
Yes.
opportunity standpoint, from just the fact that there's not so many, there's really one person on this platform that'll pull in 10K viewers on average, right?
No, not
You
even. I
know,
mean, no. I think the most you would see consistently would be 2 to 3,000. That's between the two high top streamers, Shroud and
yeah,
Ninja.
yeah.
That's
Whereas you
consistent.
jump over on Twitch, I mean,
It's a ridiculous amount.
hundreds of thousands on
Yeah,
average,
I mean
right?
they've got a bigger base, and I'm pretty sure what is it? I think it was like Amazon or somebody entangled themselves with Twitch, and it
Mm.
made it a bigger name.
Amazon owns Twitch.
Yeah, so I mean,
Yeah.
it's a bigger product, and I mean, if you can maneuver, and I'm not saying you have to do this, or myself
Hmm.
would be, but moving Mixer to Twitch, you could probably grow farther into your streaming aspects. But as user friendly goes and communities, yeah,
Yeah.
Mixer hand down. I wouldn't
Yeah.
change.
It would be interesting to talk with somebody sometime about, because I've heard it happen where people have gone kind of started over here and then have transitioned over there. I wonder, I mean, what would your first impressions of how easy that would be to bring everybody just from one platform to another?
You know, what's funny is I actually not know them personally, but I've seen people attempt that.
Okay.
And it's either gone pretty good. I've seen people actually do Mixer and Twitch at the same time, and
Mm,
YouTube. And they
yeah.
to me personally, I don't think it's a good avenue to explore unless you have a solid, consistent community of
Right.
multiple people that want to watch your content.
Yeah.
Because if not, you're just going to spread yourself thin between either two to three different platforms, and there's no point.
Yep.
Deliver what content you can to whatever platform you need to.
Right.
That way you don't deliver, you know, I don't know, horrible content, I guess you could say,
Yeah.
half-assed, and bring it to
Yeah.
the way it should be.
For
And
sure.
I think some people misunderstand that Twitch is it's a good streaming service. Obviously, you got some of the biggest streamers in the world that used it and still
Oh
use
yeah.
it.
Yeah.
But as far as friendly goes and easier to adapt to and community wise, yeah, a Mixer with Xbox and PlayStation, you can't beat it. I mean, and it's going to
Yeah.
continue to
Yeah.
grow. I think Mixer's only I want to say a few years old, to be honest.
I want to say 14 or 15 was when it really like maybe it was that other title. And then
Yeah,
I mean
I
I
think it
know
was
the
like a
growth
year it
from
kept
like
it.
17 to the growth from 17 to 18 or 18 to 19 was pretty substantial. Now again, that albeit that growth, it still is like a very small percentage of the market share when you look at Twitch. However, that poses some strengths for especially people who are wanting to get started and kind of wanting to kind of plant their flag a little bit.
Right.
Yeah. So you spent month over there, and we fast forward a little bit, and then you see some buddies playing on Mixer, and that's actually how many I think a lot of people just get started with it because it is so easy to just go live and start broadcasting something.
Oh yeah.
Um, Talk to me about those early months, like just kind of getting started on it. What were you doing? What were you trying?
Honestly, I mean, it started with Destiny, and it
Okay.
wasn't too much of it. And then it was just any game. Like I
Yeah.
played random games, and whether they'd be like Apex, obviously it wasn't out at that time, but in a consensus of that, PUBG, or I mean, I got stuck on from Destiny once it collapsed. Destiny 2, we all know
Hmm.
that. PUBG came out, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna play PUBG. I'm gonna play this, and it was a big thing. So much that I mean, it was covered all the time. I mean, it was hands down busy as hell in there. There was so much going on, and I was like, all right, I'll just do this. And I took a piece of advice that I'm gonna give to y'all that I actually went around and YouTubed like everybody does, Google, however you want to word that. And it comes from Shroud. And I said it to you before, and people that want to be known or their expectations of streaming in that sense is I was like, dude, nobody's ever coming in my channel, how do I get views? So you start on your principal basis, friends, like close ones that you gamed with, one that's on your Xbox playlist that you go down and you're like, oh, maybe they'll know. And then your family. But
Hmm.
then it got to a point where I was like, man, this isn't like their thing. So what can I do to, bring in other people? And Shroud stated, if you want to be recognized as a smaller streamer because you're not big yet, you need to go to games that don't have that many people in it all the time streaming, but more viewers, and try to
Yeah.
balance it out in hopes
Yeah.
that somebody comes down, because it is kind of a hopeful thing. But
Yeah.
it did that first month, man. Oh man, especially the first couple months, I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. So it was very
Yeah. Yeah.
inconsistent. I didn't know where I was gonna go. I was like, why am I doing this? And everyone's like, I don't know. Why do you want to do this? Well, I know I'm gonna jump around a little bit, but
Hmm.
the reason why I picked doing streaming was, and it still is, was for people like myself that are in the military, right? Young, old, retired, doesn't matter what branch. They need an outlet, because for those that don't know, gaming is therapeutic.
Hmm.
in its own form. It could be
Mm.
any way. You see me get mad, that's
Yeah,
my way of.
we touched on that last week with Rod. That was a really good portion because he shared this a similar
Mhm,
sentiment as you in terms of what this was for, and for Rod it was more so for him.
mhm.
For you, it was more so your understanding of that demographic, right? And then you both found a way to make a community where that was the purpose, right? Or
Yeah.
that was one of the big whys underlying
Yes.
under driving the whole thing.
Yes, 100%. And then it expanded out to anybody. I don't care
Hmm.
who you are. It doesn't matter if you serve the country or not. It doesn't matter what you do as an occupation. Come in here and find a way if you can. Not just for myself, but finding other people that game, or maybe it is just to watch. That's fine. But
Yeah,
it at least allows them an avenue to explore versus the possibilities of other endeavors they could do that could be, harmful or
sure.
harm their relationships with themselves, and I look at it that way. And I had
Hmm.
a close friend that I wasn't streaming at the time, but I did everything in my damn power to try to get that person to consistently come game with me.
Yeah,
Don't go do this. Come,
right,
I mean, because
right.
we're like continents away, and doing that and trying to reach out to people, it's hard, but you can connect on different levels. And that's why I chose to do it this way. So
Hmm. I mean, I
it's,
think there is such a powerful part of gaming, and I think it's a big reason why we do it. I mean, it's connection, right? And it allows us either to build new connections with people that we have a chance of meeting that we probably wouldn't have otherwise had a chance to meet, or I mean, especially with me and the other Cynic boys, just an ability to stay connected. I
yeah,
mean, we haven't lived in the same time zone, I think, in 5, 6, 7 years now at this point. So yeah, I mean, I think so. Let me ask you this. So that was the why. How did you go about very early on, right? Because again, you started slow like everybody else does, right? Or
right.
like most everybody
Very
else
slow.
does. How did you go about telling the world, hey, this is a place, if you're this and you're looking for something like this and that,
Hmm.
this is the place for you? How did you start kind of communicating that and spreading that? Because I mean, for those of you who don't know, I got kind of flubbed up on the intro, like Havoc, like you in a large part have been doing this part-time, like as
Yeah.
of recently, given certain circumstances, you've been able to do it more on a full-time basis,
Yes. Yeah.
but it's really been part-time for you, like kind of on a as you can.
Yeah.
And you're coming up on 3,000 followers, and your numbers look great and all that other stuff. So there's some things that you're doing that we've definitely talked about, and I think this is one of them, right? I think
Yes.
this is one of them that says, how do I go about communicating that this is what my place is for?
Um, I felt like a broken record, and y'all still to this day. I think even you, when we game it up, saying the same consistent thing. Because 9 times out of 10, you got people that'll come in that aren't on your PC because a very high percentage of it comes on your phone, on who
Yeah.
watches you, their phone. Doesn't matter what kind of phone or iPad.
Hmm.
So they don't want to deliver going down and watching, you and then trying to read information. So you continuously deliver information to them as much as you want to. It's like, those corny ass commercials you always hear and they
I
get
was just
stuck in
thinking
your
about
head.
commercials with you kind of saying the same message over and over
Yeah,
again. But
I
yeah,
just repeat it in any
yep.
kind of way, delivering the message, whether it sounds goofy, another accent, or I'm being off the wall canny, it doesn't matter.
Hmm.
Whatever makes it stick to that person or persons and make them be like, hey, look, you can do it a couple ways. You can either take this and receive it or you won't, because there's people that are going to just be like, I'm good. I don't want to watch you. And that's fine. There's
Yep.
other channels out there. There's so
Yeah.
many. And that's where I think people get hung up on stuff that I'm not here to worry about. I would rather you find somebody you watch or play games with versus just being in my channel all the time. And that's the truth. That's transparency at its
Yep.
finest. And anybody that's
Yep.
played with me, like yourself, I want that because
Yeah.
I mean, it ties in hand with other conversations, obviously.
Well, I mean, I think, like people come in and I mean, people are going to come and go from your channel. People are going to follow and they're going to unfollow. And
Yes.
I see it a lot among streamers where they get so fired up for an unfollow.
Yeah.
And I mean, in a way, isn't that kind of like your community just like purifying itself? I mean, do you want a hollow follow that's not gonna, deliver anything?
True.
You
Yeah.
know,
Very true. I think what you said nails it. People come in and just follow, i.e., that's the other reason why we like Mixer. And I didn't say this earlier and I forgot. Hype zone.
yeah,
Hype
that's a good
zones
point.
on all sorts of games. It doesn't matter what game you play. If it's a
Hmm.
first person shooter, you're going to get hype zone eventually if you place in the top 5.
Yeah,
And those people come in and some will follow you. They won't ever watch you again.
right,
Literally, they just followed you
right.
because they're like, oh, that was cool. Follow.
Right.
And I got him in the channel here. Bam, one of my mods. I lost the game in PUBG and the final part of Hype Zone, and I've been gaming with him since.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you can connect on different levels. I think people just misunderstand that, and I think they really need to
Yeah.
understand that.
Yeah. I mean, you think about too, like when you're starting out, the way you brand yourself very early on matters,
Yes.
right? Because it's those first few people. And I do think, I think here's a part that smaller streamers kind of miss is that there is an advantage to being smaller, right?
Yes.
Because there's a personal approach to it that can be taken. There's a deeper connection that can be brought there where it's like, I mean, go into one of the top 5 streamers channels and just try and get a word in that chat, right? Like you're truly at that point. And again, we're going to get to the whole life cycle of a stream later on.
Yeah. No.
But
No.
I
I
think
got you.
people get discouraged by that and they see it like, well, I have less of an opportunity. It's like, well, no, you don't. You just got to maximize those that you get, right? And I think
Right.
too, like when Hype Zone does come around, what you say matters, right? And yes, while to
100%.
you that message feels repetitive, right?
Yes.
It's always new to somebody, right? That's the reason why that's why these companies, they don't run a commercial just one time,
No.
over
No.
and
No.
over and in different time zones and different, just because that's who they want to stand for, that sort of thing.
100% agree with you. It's advertisement. You're your own advertisement.
Hmm.
The hands down. That's why you got, for everybody that's watching right now, you see Cynic left, Havoc right,
Mm.
Success and Stream in the middle. That's advertisement. That's for y'all's
Yeah.
knowledge, and
Yeah,
people
it's an
misunderstand
impression,
that.
right? It's an impression. And
Hmm.
the marketing, the advertisers, like they literally quantify it through how many impressions. That's why it costs millions of dollars to own a billboard out here on the interstate in Denver
Oh
because
God,
of
yeah.
just the number of impressions or people that are going to see you. But it's also called an impression because, quite literally, what is the impression that you receive when people come into your channel, right? No different than a restaurant, no different than any other business, right? An
Yes.
impression, especially the first one, is going to
Yes.
matter. So you really took, kind of a stand and said, you know what, it sounds like the first thing that you did is, what is this channel about? Such an
Yes.
important step. Where'd you go
Yes.
from there?
So my whole overall goal, it recaps on letting people know when you make your stream, whatever the case may be, you need a valid reason for yourself, nobody else's opinions, why you're doing it. Hands down. If it is for purposes of sole income, cool.
Hmm.
If it's for pure entertainment, awesome. But you
Yeah.
need to make it deliver one thing. It could be a jack of all of them. It could literally be a multitude of things why you picked streaming and why you're doing it. I
Yep.
chose mine because I wanted people to find our channel and have a place to come to and hang out, even if it's for like 30 seconds to a minute. I don't care, and at least have some kind of draw into that and maybe get hooked into conversations that aren't with me, but with people in the chat
Yeah.
and actually get to know them, whispering them like, hey, what do you do? Or that's why I've been promoting the Discord on our side, finding people because that Discord connects to like yours, the Cynic groups, all
Right.
sorts of other Discords,
Right.
and all these people just game. And the reason
Yes.
why we watch Mixer is because you're a gamer.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. And if you're not,
100%.
then why are you
100%.
watching?
Yeah.
Like,
Well, I mean,
you had to have game
I
some
think
point, you know
certain
what I mean?
channels do attract something that doesn't want to be just watching gaming, but
True. No, we won't go
we
down
digress.
that.
Yeah.
We're
We
good.
digress.
I've been hearing about those, man. I'm good.
Hmm.
I'm good.
Um,
Mm-mm.
I think because essentially what you're talking about in the advice that you're giving is the way any business should be, quite honestly, planned, right? Like you're coming
Yes.
in here. What's the overall demographic of people that I want to target? Okay. And now of that demographic, is there a smaller group? And then is there a smaller group? And I would say that on average, you should probably start with like 3 levels. So I'll give you a personal example. So for my business, my consulting business that I started when I was 23, it was so important even at that young to figure out, okay, me looking at myself as 23,
Hmm.
okay, I'm in high performance psychology, awesome. You can work with pros, Olympians, high level athletes. You can work with athletes, firefighters, police officers, combat forces, so on, and performers, musicians, dancers, that sort of thing.
Right.
Which one made the most sense for me in terms of, well, what would be the easier demographic for me to get into, as well as, I got to narrow it down a little bit. So narrowed it down to just athletes, right? To
Right.
start, just athletes to start. And then I said, even a step further, I said, okay, now within this group of athletes, or within all the athletes in the world, which ones are the most being underserved right now? Right. And I found that elite youth sport athletes, right? Everybody in my line of work, they want to do, they want to work with the Olympians and they want to work with the pros, right? Nobody
Right.
wants to work with the kids. right? And so that's the demographic that I targeted, and the business, grew, doubled and tripled itself year over year. But none of that would have happened without taking a very targeted approach and sitting down on the front end. I mean, even before Cree started his stream,
Yeah.
we basically wrote out a business plan, right? And a big part of that is, well, who do we want to attract, right? And
Yeah, your
because then
target
now,
audience.
once you get that, everything's easier.
Oh
The way
God,
you
yeah, I
talk
agree
about your
completely.
business is like, once I identified that I want to work with youth athletes, the way
Mhm.
I talked about my business was easier. The way I found that the value that my business was going to add was a hell of a lot easier. The way that I marketed it was easier, right?
Yes.
So there's absolutely, again, I preach just get started, but then you really got to figure out, okay, you got to start the strategy on the front end, right? Because otherwise you just kind of flail and swim and kick and scream in the deep end, before you even really get your legs under you. And you might quit before you get your legs under you. You got to start off a little smaller, be way more targeted than what most people are.
No, you're right. Having a target audience for those that are wanting to know some of this makes your whole endeavor on streaming more valued. You're going to have a purpose, and when you, like Topty said, you'll have a topic to talk about, and you won't stumble over your words. You'll know exactly what to say and how to respond to things. If you
Yeah.
don't, and then it's confidence. I mean, that's the
Yeah.
truth, and I think that's a lot of it too. When you start up your streaming, people are underconfident because they don't know how to expect anything to come from any, just 0 views, 0 followers. They don't know where to go,
Yeah.
and they just dive right in. Hands down, I did it.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, I got absolutely shellacked in the first couple months of a few of my businesses that I started. I mean, just absolutely wiped the floor with. But you learn the most in those times too, and it forces you. I mean, you think about like what forces people to change in this industry, or that forces people to adapt. Well, it's failing, right? Like, it's not until you experience enough pain and failure that then you're going to finally say, all right, I need to change something, right? It's
Yes,
not until
agreed.
you sit there for hours playing a game and nobody's watching and you're not attracting anybody that's going to finally force you to sit back and say, I got to do something different, right? Either
Yeah.
I got to quit or I got to change something that I'm doing, right? Because there is no middle ground at that point.
No, 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 no. Well, I mean, it's like technology growth with streaming. You have to stay with the times. You can't stay outdated with stuff. Unfortunately, you can't.
Yeah.
That goes hand in hand with, like, I've gone through my own issues, and I know everybody's witnessed it. Stream qualities. It's basic as that. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter if it's my webcam or it's my mic or if it's my picture in general. Like, you have to continuously entertain your audience with like perfection almost, because
Yeah.
who wants to watch, right? And we use this as an example, a television show that you watch at home based off of Hulu or Netflix, because we all do that now, and it's
Hmm.
pixelated. It doesn't work.
Right.
You just stop
Right.
watching it. You change the
Right.
channel. You're like,
It's
I'm
no
over
different than
this.
YouTube videos. I
And
mean,
people's,
yeah, go
people's
ahead.
attention spans, I hate to say it, and I'm not saying this, I mean, even myself, are very, very young minded. It's like, what is going to entertain somebody in the first 30 seconds when they come in?
Yeah.
You have, I mean, that's why I tell everybody, and when they've asked me questions, don't stray away from ever being yourself when you stream. I'm
Yeah.
serious. Like, because the moment you aren't, then you're just putting on a front. You're not enjoying yourself. I mean, that's
Yeah.
how I see it, at least. That's why when you're in the channel with me, I say some really weird stuff, and I lash out irrationally at times, and I don't mean to. Again, who I am,
Right.
and that's what I guess sometimes it draws people to the audience and stuff. But with times being said and your audiences that you need to know when you're streaming, don't don't take things personal if things don't go successfully in the first like month or two on
Yeah.
streaming. But you do, like Tati and I are talking about right now, you have to have a plan. I mean, you have to make a plan, even if it's just the basic one,
Hmm.
something that makes you drive your stream
Yep.
straight up.
I mean, if you could boil it down into like three questions, right? And I want you to contribute to this. I mean, I think the first question would be like, who is your stream for? And that's
Who's your
got to be
audience?
way narrow. Like, who's your audience? Um, what's your value proposition to that audience, right? Like,
Yes.
is your value high level gameplay?
Yep.
Is your value you're going to educate people on the game? Is your value you're just goofy and awesome and funny and you're going to make people like, what is your value?
Yep.
And what do you suppose the third one would be?
Picking the right game for that person. Don't
Yeah.
play a game
Yeah.
that doesn't make you happy.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry. When you first start out,
100%.
you got to pick a game that makes you happy.
Yep.
Like, enjoy
Because
your game.
it's the happy game that's going to get you through just the hours of nobody in the chat, right?
You asked me about my streaming part in part one of this, right?
Mm-hmm.
What games did I play? The one that really took off for me in this streaming endeavor that I've been going through was Outlast. It was a scary
Oh yeah.
game. I don't know. It wasn't really anybody in that channel, y'all. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
It's like 8 or 9 people.
Yeah.
People saw me started playing it. People that were like, again, Xbox were on my Xbox friends list, and they saw me playing it. They jumped in from my friends list, and they're like watching me, and they saw how much I got into the game and how much I got freaked out and enjoyed it. They were like, that's the content. So like now on my streaming schedule, what's going to happen is I'm going to be playing more of the incited parts of horror games and stuff when I can,
Yeah.
because people want that, and I like playing them. So I
Yeah.
highly recommend finding a game in tune that makes you happy. And that actually comes. Shroud said the same stuff. Like no bull. I know I
Yeah.
use him a lot, but I mean, obviously the guy's doing something successful. So I took
Yeah.
some notes out of his playbook, and I was like, hey man, you're right. Play a game that makes you happy. Don't play it just because everybody else is playing it. You know what I
100%.
mean? Unfortunately, I think people get caught up in that.
Oh yeah. So we're getting a little bit, so at this point we're getting our feet under us a little bit. We've at least identified who we are, what we want. You're starting to attract an audience. When did you feel like you were really, starting to hit your stride?
Um, it was after I got back from my schooling for leadership. It was God, when was that? It was almost a year. No, I can't remember. I don't know. It kind of blends into each other, I guess you could say. I do know that the networking side of stuff. I was playing Apex. I hadn't played Apex really. I played maybe 30, 35 games.
Sure.
And one day I was like playing with some buddies, and they're like, let's play Apex. I was like, you know what? F PUBG, no offense, love them, but I'm tired of lagging out and ping issues, blah, blah, blah. So I was
Right.
like, let's go play Apex. And I've told you this, and those that don't know, and everybody does know her, your first guest, Pink,
Oh yeah.
came into my channel and hosted me. And I was blown away. I mean, my quality, I go back and look at it. It wasn't like great. It wasn't horrible.
Sure.
But
Had you
she,
put some money into the setup? Pause. Had you put some money in the setup at that point?
yes,
How many, how
not a
far
lot. So
into
like
it
I
were
started
you?
out basic like everybody, monitor, Xbox, but I came back from my schooling. I had 2 monitors, an actual webcam. Hadn't had a PC yet.
Mm-hmm.
I had like not like the one I have now. The one I had before was like
Right.
a really basic one you'd probably see at like a coffee shop, you know?
Sure. Sure. Yeah. Sure.
And I was like, man, I need to upgrade this. But came in and I was like, all right, cool. The one thing that I gonna tell y'all, and I'm not afraid because I'm transparent, like I said, being very fortunate on the side of being active with the military and a full-time paycheck and doing this part-time
Yeah.
makes it 1,000 times easier to
Mm-hmm.
contribute what I can to the stream and the quality. Because even though I love all of you that are in here and you've donated whatever it is you've donated, because I don't know verbatim, and I appreciate everybody knows I appreciate it. In my own pocket, I pocketed out some stuff because I could save to the side and deliver myself into like my own situations where I'm like, hey, I can get this now. I can afford this now. Don't go buy everything. I highly don't do that. If you're
Yeah.
starting up, please don't do that. It's the wrong move. Don't
Yeah.
ever do that.
Yeah. I mean, I think the other thing that you said there too about, and we'll circle back to Pink, but briefly, the one thing you said that I think needs to be pointed out is you're talking about not just having like a job to like fund the stream, right? Because I
Hmm.
mean, this is really in a sense like you're a really successful hobbyist like in this, right? And I think that's
Right.
that's kind of a term that you've used for yourself as well. It's like this is a hobby for you, it's a passion, right?
Right.
The other side of it though is I think when people, and for those that are considering starting out in this and doing this and your plan is to drop everything and just stream, I mean, no. And here's the
Dude.
reason why. I mean, that is, and now all of a sudden you're putting all of your financial expectations or whatever it is like in your stream. I mean, even there, I mean, the very first business that I started out with, I did not quit my job, right? I was still bartending full time, like 45, 50 hours a week. And then I was building a business on the side, and I will never trade that. And because here's the reason why it's like the money then no longer affects you, right? Like the
Yes.
revenue that you bring in from your stream early on, it doesn't affect you. So you're not riding the highs and the lows of a good day and a bad day nearly as bad as if it is 100% what you're bringing in. And that is just some kind of pressure that it's a huge risk. And I think it's an unnecessary risk because I think this is absolutely something that can grow more organically. Just like, I mean, just like my business, any business did, right? Eventually I grew it and I grew it. And I got myself to a point where I'm like, you know what? Now I can step away. And now I feel like I've gotten my legs under me over here in this business. But to just drop everything and no other source of revenue, and you're just going to stream. Oof.
Yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly. I think that goes hand in hand with what we discussed before. You have to have a
Yeah.
plan. You need to set aside yourself some time, and then real expectations. Real expectations.
Yeah.
Don't set a bar so high that you can't achieve your own goals,
Yeah.
especially in streaming. There's so
Yeah.
many out there doing this, y'all. I mean, so
Mhm.
many. And you've got to make yourself stick out amongst tons of thousands of people doing this. It's
Yeah.
hard.
And it takes time.
And
I
yeah,
think
it's
people
time
see the people
consuming.
at the top, they see Ninja and they see Shroud, and it's like, I wonder how many of these people would actually go back and look and see how long they've been doing this
Oh, I
to
know.
get to that point,
I
right?
mean,
Yeah.
it's insane. If you guys ever don't, if you haven't got the story, I'm not going to go into it. Go look up Shroud and Ninja Stories. I'll just say Shroud, he streamed for 1 year solid on Twitch and he was his only viewer.
Yeah. He was his only viewer. Yep.
Just
Yep.
saying, sometimes it takes longer than you expect, but
Yeah.
things can happen just like that. And you'd be surprised how much it'll change your
Yeah.
whole, like, oh my God, outlook. It'll
Yeah.
be crazy.
Yeah. So
Crazy.
circle back to Pink comes in
Yep.
first time.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. I was playing, and it was the first game I played, and no shit, we won, which was surprising. I think I had 1 kill, go figure. And I was like lost in the sauce. You can tell I was a complete noob, but she came in, and it was an incredible amount of people that some that are in here right now. I'm certain of it. And they're talking and just blowing up the chat and showing all the love and stuff. And it was just amazing. And that alone set a bar for people to just take notion. And that it really came down to just pure luck, y'all.
Yeah.
These bigger streamers that are partnered or not, some are big as hell and don't have any partners. They don't want to be partnered, but they have tons of viewers. They just find people, i.e., like myself, was just hanging out in Apex with a
Yeah.
cool title, I guess you could say at that time, because I don't remember what it was, and was like, hey, we're going to go host this person. And it happens just like that. It's
Yep.
unexpected. It's so unexpected.
But that again, it is an opportunity, right?
Yeah,
And
it's 100% an
if there's
opportunity.
one expression that I firmly believe, that like luck is really just nothing but hard work meeting opportunity, right? Because
Yeah,
like you're
yeah,
gonna get
dedicated to
opportunities,
100% and deliver whenever you. It's kind of like this, and I think you and I can maybe agree on this. If you've ever played a sport, I'm hoping some of y'all have,
Mhm.
and you finally get your big moment,
Yep.
you got to shine. No matter
Mhm.
what you do, you have to perform at that moment.
Yeah.
And whatever I did to perform at that moment was an expectation that I'm assuming everybody wanted to see. You know, even though it's like hype zone, and I refer to that again. You get in the last team and it's just you against one other person and you fail. It does suck and it does happen. For those that do watch that, I've had more follows off of failing than actually
Mhm.
winning a game.
Yeah.
No bullshit.
Yep.
So, and again, that goes in hand with your audience. Who's your audience and what do they really care about? I mean, I've had people come in and be like, probably thinking, no, he's wearing a headband. He's a ninja fake. Not follow. I don't like listening
Yeah.
to his voice.
Right.
Not follow.
Right.
It's the
Right.
concepts, man. It blows your mind, but it's the truth.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And that from there though, I think you were talking about before what went into full stride. I think after that moment getting rated by Pink, it kind of went into stride for me. I got to meet some different people. And then I took it more seriously. I was like, I wonder how I can network this. I
Sure.
was like, all right, get to know her, get to know some people. And then I started not just her channel, but I started going to other people's channels, just talking and seeing who was in there. And I realized Mixer is a small ass community, y'all. Y'all think it's big? It
Yeah.
is not. There's a lot of people out there that know a lot of everybody. And I mean, like, seriously, everybody knows
100%.
everybody. It's like high school, straight
Mhm.
up. So
Both good and
I
bad
literally took
aspects of
my
that,
time
but
going
yeah.
to other channels and just,
Yeah.
I don't know, saying hello, talking to people, actually trying to get to know some of them. Some of them, I'm not gonna lie, I went in, I was like, it's not my game. And it was hand in hand. There I am
Right.
being,
Right.
I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't really, this isn't what I want to watch. Sorry, no offense, but I try to support however I could. So it took it from there, and I guess I would say it goes that way, meeting
What do you
her and then
in
going to meet other people and so on. It's kind of
you
like
know
that
what?
thing you and I talked about before about um, what was it, networking groups, right?
Yeah, stream teams.
Okay, so I don't know if are we going into that, or
We
can we go?
can. We're here.
Okay,
Yeah.
um, stream teams. If you guys, for those in chat on
Let's
Mixer.
define a stream team first, so everybody's on the same
Okay, so
page.
stream teams are if somebody asks you, "Hey, do you want to be on my team at Mixer?" and you're like, "What are you talking about?" And you're like, this thing, and they'll send you an invite, and it's under your networks. You can only be on 3 teams. It's the max, and you get to pick a primary. That's as far as information I got for the longest time. People are
Yeah.
like, "I sent you an invite." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" Well, Stream Teams basically delivers, now that I'm involved with this team, every time I go live, they can click on their like group and team. It'll show who's live in their team so they can go support that team, that member, however you want to word that, right? Well, I didn't know that. I thought when you meant team like that, like, hey, we're going to game it up, man.
Right,
Maybe
right,
co-stream here and there.
right. You saw it more of like a community of gamers wanting to
Yes,
game and maybe be
100%.
competitive, and what in actuality what it was is it was a networking group basically.
It's a networking group, and that's what it comes down to. I mean, I know Pink's touched base on it. I can't remember if Rod did. Um, but it's one of those things, when you go into somebody's channel or they come into yours, it's not quid pro quo. It's not like that, y'all, just so you know.
Yeah,
But you got to understand that if you're going to go and you want help with something or whatnot, you got to deliver a part of yourself up first and offer your vulnerability and like what you can provide to that channel or that person in their community.
yeah,
Because if not, what are real expectations are going to be is, what are you really doing for anybody? Or you have generally nice people like that just want to help you no matter what the
yeah,
case is, no matter
yeah.
if they reap the benefits from your success, or it doesn't matter. That's just how it is in the communities and stuff. There's a variety of people too. I
I
think you and I have
think
talked about it too.
I think when I think of that style of thing or that style of group or organization or stream team, I think it's probably one of those just intuitively really good ideas, right? Like it makes a lot of sense, right? Like, all right, we're going to get like 50, 60, 70 people together and we're going to support each other and it's going to be great. I think
Yes.
it's one of those ideas that sounds like an awesome thing on paper, and that's about as far as it goes.
Yeah.
Because I think that there are some real limitations, and I'm sure this is going to frustrate the heck out of some people. Now, here's the thing. I'm sure there's probably a stream team out there on Mixer that does a tremendous job. And I think we can talk about ways that I think like what you should watch out for. And I think like best practice for how that probably should be. But
Right.
I also think that it's absolutely an opportunity for people to maybe not fulfill their end of the bargain, not hold, like I said, not hold up their end of the bargain.
Yep.
And also you don't really know these people,
No, you
so I mean
don't.
I think one of the biggest limitations is like, we talked about like networking, and you had said kind of in the pre-show just how important like word of mouth is in
Yes.
terms of when people speak of you,
Yep.
what do they say?
Yeah. Hands
Well,
down.
now all of a sudden you're on a stream team, right? And you just joined a stream team, right? And you're so excited because there's like 65 people on this
Mm-hmm.
stream team. How well do you know all 65 people? Because here's what happens. Let's say one person, just an idiot, and absolutely goes out and does something incredibly stupid, says something wrong, and everybody sees it, right? Maybe they're even one who's getting a lot of exposure.
Yep.
Everybody sees it.
Mm-hmm.
And then they look down in the bottom right and they see, oh, he's on that team.
Yep. Because people do
What
take notion of that.
now all of a sudden, what have you just tied your little fledgling company to without even knowing it? And so I think that's a huge issue. I think there's probably a huge issue in terms of who gets hosts and for how long. I think it's an easy way for people to say, you know what, come in, jump on our auto host, and you'll get this maybe once every other week. And when you do get it,
Yeah.
is it as long for everybody else? I mean, there's just so
Mm.
much that you don't know,
Oh, I
right?
do. I can
Yeah,
say
you
it. I
do,
know I
right?
do.
Because here, the real life, the kind of business example of this is I use the term networking group, because here's what
Right.
networking groups are, right? And I've done like 3 or 4 of them,
Uh-huh.
and I can count on one hand how much business has been generated, because here's the approach that it's always taken. It's a bunch of people talking about their businesses,
Yep.
and there's no
Yep.
dialogue
Nope.
about how I can help your business. There's very little dialogue, right? And I think that's what happens in these stream teams. So yeah, hey, you got 300-400 followers, you want to come be on our stream team? Awesome. But you got to have this tab open, you got to have all these tabs open, you got to do this and
Yep.
this. And what is the return on that investment that you're getting? Has that been made clear?
Yeah, I
Um,
think that's where people misunderstand stuff. Like, I'm not afraid. I'm on people's auto host. I'm on one team that I just recently got on because they asked, and I was very transparent with them. I was like, "Look, man, I don't know what you expect from me, but I did this because I want to game with people.
yeah,
How many times y'all see me in here trying to help out
yeah,
people with Apex all the time? Because I want to game with people. I mean, I'm not.
yeah,
There's type A personalities and Bs, and we're not always going to see
yeah,
eye to eye. We're not going to see the same way. I get it. but that's
Yeah.
where trial and error is no different from LFG. But as far as the
Yeah.
stream team aspect, yeah, I shouldn't have to deliver my pocket of money to somebody's channel just to be
Yeah.
recognized, and
Right.
nor should you or anybody else.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. You're talking about
Have
people
you
on teams,
seen
you're
that
right.
where the barrier to entry, sorry to cut you off, but have
Oh,
you seen that where the barrier to entry or the only way that you get support in this stream team is if you're opening up the wallet?
I've seen a couple.
Yeah.
Seen a couple. They say they're not about that, but they're full of shit.
Sure.
Just straight up. Sorry,
Yeah.
y'all. I
Yeah.
mean, there's people out there that are okay. They're gonna try to take success the moment they can. The train's going forward. Either
Yep.
you're on it or you're
Yep.
trying to catch it. And
Right.
that's how it goes in streaming. But if you're generally a nice person and you want to do the right thing, yeah, you can do it that way too. But you got to be successful in your own manners. And I think that's where people misunderstand that if you have to pay somebody embers or dollars and get their consensus of being like recognized just to get
Yeah.
hosted, no, there's no
Yeah.
point in it. People want to
Yeah.
do it. I'm more than grateful. I'm
Yeah.
actually in my process right now to try to create an auto host for our community, like
Sure.
the one that I've got right now for people that are
Yeah.
just low gaming streamers. And I told them that,
Yeah.
like straight up, hey, you want help because it's exposure. Not everybody's always going to chat,
Right.
but it at least gives you an opportunity to be up on the top of the charts or something in that hopeful concept. But I think
Yeah.
people do need to understand that I've been in teams where I've had people suspended on Mixer and I didn't know, and I don't know these people at all. And I was like, yeah, I'm good. I'm
Yeah.
not being affiliated with y'all. I'm
Yeah.
in the military too, y'all. So if you do something lucrative on Mixer and it ties back to me, I'm out straight up. I am not going to sit there and be given two shits about it or lose any sleep over it
Right.
because I
Right.
go under
Well, it's
two
your
different
brand,
laws.
right? It's your
Okay.
brand. It's your name, right? Yeah.
But that
Yeah. I
goes
mean,
in hand too with the Mixer's TOS, which I don't think anybody ever reads that at all.
what about which aspect of the TOS?
Well, it's just like things that like if you're to host somebody and they were to act obscene or do something really
Mm-hmm.
crazy, it could actually the person that hosted you, from what I read, and I might have misread that, it could affect you as the person that hosted them.
Yeah.
You know, being
Yeah.
involved with other people in communities, if you're trying to push for partner and they see you hosting all these people and you're in this team community that's
Yep.
full of miscreants and adolescents or God
Right.
knows what else other bad word you could throw in there that's not doing right things by Mixer because
Yeah.
it's their business,
Yeah.
then you kind of hinder yourself and you put yourself at risk if you wanted to do something further. Say you are partner, you could put yourself at risk. So it's a business aspect. And
Well, I
go
think
ahead.
too, like Rod. So that brings up a good point because I actually saw on Rod, I was in Rod's channel the other day, and I saw at the bottom he has it like literally in the words like a disclaimer in all caps and says the actions or attitudes or views blah 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 of the people that are hosted by this channel do not reflect the blah 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 of this channel.
Yeah, you
And
have
I
to
think
be
that's
that
really
clear.
smart. I mean, that's a tremendous like cover your ass policy. I mean, I think it's a good step in the right direction, but I also think it's really, it's funny. Like we're talking here about stream teams, and then we're talking about, okay, well, what are the benefits of these stream teams? And the fact of the matter, the irony of all this is you can get the benefits of being on a stream team and getting hosted and having community without the need for a stream team,
Yeah,
right?
you're right. You're 100% right.
Like you
I
don't
mean,
need
just
to be
until
on a
recently,
formal
I just
team
got
to
asked to
get
be
those
one.
benefits.
No, I mean, I recently got asked to be on one just because somebody reached out to me. Again, that networking, just who knows me and how they know me, I don't know. And they're like,
Mm-hmm.
hey, you want to be in? I was like, sure. But that's where I told them, I was like, hey, man, this is how this is going to be for me. I'm like, I'm not trying to run my PC into the ground. I'm not trying to do X, Y, and Z. If somebody has content that's good to watch, I'll watch it and I'll support
Yeah.
them. But if
Yeah.
it's not my cup of tea, again, I'm not going to go in there and just be fake to them.
Yeah.
I'm not that person.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think people found their own rhythm in streaming and or not streaming but viewing, and I think that it's like I say a TV show. It's you expect this person to be on this time, they expect it, and they put it in their daily routine.
Yeah.
So I don't know, and I think the one thing, if anything, could be taken from hosting y'all or being on an
Mm-hmm.
auto host, however you can be it, and you're
Yeah.
starting out, take advantage of it if you can. I mean, I'm not going to lie to y'all. It's not a horrible idea. You're clear expectations of whoever's doing it with you, right? Be upfront.
Mm-hmm.
They need to be upfront with you, but it at least helps you because if you want to get an audience, people to actually know who the hell you are, and I've talked about this with Tofty and other people, you have to be in that 1 to 5 slot on Mixer for like at least 45 minutes. So people like will come into your channel and at least look at you.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's literally what it comes down to.
I think that parlays really nicely. And again, to wrap up the whole point about stream teams, I mean, let's be clear here, right? This is a show where I don't really care if it rubs people the wrong way. Like, this is a show where I'm treating this as if you're a young streamer and you're coming here, or you're a new streamer and you're coming here and you want to know how to do this, I think it's also important to know what to watch out for. Right.
Yes.
And now here's the thing. If somebody watches this and they've got an awesome stream team and they feel like they're doing it the right way, you know,
Yeah.
chair's right there. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Have a seat.
Seriously.
Let's talk about it. Right. Like, again, it's not just this blanket statement of all stream teams are bad, but I think people need to be aware of what to look out for, right?
No, you're
Because
right.
if you're not, like, you and your business will be taken advantage of. We've seen that time and time again on here. It's a big reason for this show. But anyway, we move forward.
Yep.
You talk about, we're going to parlay into the strategy, because again, one of the biggest reason why I wanted you to come on this show is because you have such a good analytical mind for this. You've put the thought into it, you've done the research, and I think you're getting into a really good point of talking about, I mean, the formula for success here on streaming is pretty straightforward in terms, like, you need to get followers, you need to, like, really, people think that it's just to get followers, but it's not. You need to think about getting viewers, right? So it's about getting viewers, right? How do you get viewers? Well, having more followers certainly helps people that will come in, but then also getting auto hosted, right? So the more viewers that you have, the higher that you rise. Like, it's no secret to anybody here, right? But it's the higher that you rise. You've gotten really good at being very strategic, because there's the only one way you get 3,000 followers, pretty much doing this as a hobby, right?
Right.
Let's lead off with this idea of talking about a really basic point that I think people really don't know, and that is the importance of being in the top 4 to 5 slots and what that
Mhm.
does for you.
Yeah, 100%. This goes hand in hand with y'all picking a game that obviously makes you happy, but that isn't saturated. Because if you know
Yep.
you're getting hosted and it's only a few here and there, you got to know your numbers, right? If you're okay, so we're gonna use a number 10,
Yep.
basic number, and you know you're playing like me. You've seen Realm Royale. That right there, playing Realm Royale with 10 people in my channel will put me in the top 10 every
Mm-hmm.
time, almost
Yep.
every time. What comes down from that point on is your title. Your title needs to say something that will deliver a message to somebody to be like, like question it, like, huh? Or be like, I'm curious. You
Yeah.
have to spark curiosity in people to make them come see you. And the biggest thing is when you do get into that top 1 to 5 position, because for those that don't know, Streamlabs, and I don't know about OBS and other ones because I don't use them, but Streamlabs, it breaks down your stream analytically. It lets you know your views, this, that, and the other. It lets you know games what they're at. It lets you know when a game's peaked and has the most viewers in it versus the most streaming people actually streaming the game. And what it comes down to at that point, you got to pick a game that has a ton of viewers, less streamers, and then you got to play it. I mean, here's
Mm-hmm.
the thing: if you can get into 1 to 5 slot, this phone, just like all y'all, is what people watch you on. They don't really pick out a PC. So the first thing they see is the title of the game, and then they see like the first 1 to 4 people that are streaming that are in the top position, and then they might flick down a little bit.
That's so important.
And
That's
you
so
have to
important to
be in that
understand.
spot. I'm not kidding. You need to be in a spot like that for at least 45 minutes.
Yeah.
At 45 minutes, I guarantee you'll notice people coming in and out of your channel. Now, I'm going to use Seif, or I think I said that correct, right? Seif, yeah, Seif. One of the bigger streamers, right? Like Argonaut. He stated in an interview with Argonaut that people that come in to lurk into your channel, right? Don't call them out. Don't have a damn Scotty bot that says, and I think Pete said this too. Don't say,
Mm-hmm.
hi, I'm here. I don't want, no. I'm your audience.
Mm-hmm.
I want to know what you've got to show. And I'm literally piggybacking off what she says because I believe it and
Yeah.
what he says. At that point, if they're in your channel lurking, it is up to you as the streamer to provide them something, whether it be content, the word of mouth of what you're saying out of anything you're vocally saying, right? Just anything that makes them stick around and want to actually build a community with you and like personality, right? I hate to
Yeah.
say this, y'all, and this is about as black and white as I can say it. Are you likable? I mean,
Right.
you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, do people want to watch you? Like, do they want to watch you just game? Do they want to watch you as a physical piece of like person, or, is it a combination thereof? So,
Yeah.
but Tofty has a good point. I literally will go down and break down my statistics and see what games or this, that, and the other.
Can you take me through that process again, just for because again, like two really easy things to make an adjustment on, right? Your title should be something that should draw people in,
Yes,
right?
100%. It should go
And then
hand in
the other
hand.
thing too is understanding the importance of being in games where you have the ability to make those top 4, top 5 shots. Yeah, and I should have. I don't have the numbers. I don't even know if Mixer publishes like how many people watch on mobile versus PC. But I mean, I've seen it in streams where all of a sudden they get like they have like a good followers, and then they get like 2 hosts come in, right?
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden it's very clear when you are in those top 4 because like the follows start ripping off, you start
Mm-hmm.
getting more of the level 1s in your chat of
Yep.
which represents just clearly new people in your chat.
100%.
And so let's be honest then, you know, be putting yourself in a situation where, you know, look at the top 4 people, you know. So I want you to break down, how do you analyze a game? What are some of the numbers that you're looking for? Is there like, obviously you don't have to have like a firm ratio, but is there like a general rule that you look for in terms of, you know, how you go about evaluating, hey, is this a good game for me to be playing?
Okay, so here's a good example. Updates, right? On any game. That game's going to update something crazy. It's going to be so saturated with so many high tier streamers. Don't go play it and stream it. You just got lost in the market. Straight up. You're, Mom, where did you go? I can't find. You're done. Don't go in there and do it. Stay
Yeah.
away from it. Let it cool down. I mean, I could use a ton of games as an example, right? But here's what I would suggest anybody that's listening in, right? If you're going to pick a game, and we use Apex because y'all know I like Apex, go figure. I go into Apex and I look at titles. The first thing I see how many people are in there, and I got my PC so I can scroll down pretty quick. There's usually a couple hundred people streaming easily.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, well, what are the titles they use in today? And there's a lot of cliche titles, y'all. I talked about this topic, everything that deals with a weekday. Bad Mondays,
the
Taco
Friday titles,
Tuesdays,
yeah.
Thirsty
Right.
Thursdays, Fun Fridays,
Right.
craziness. Stay away from that. Don't do that. Do something different.
Sure.
Either you're going to be setting a new way of doing things, or you're going to fall in with the sheep. Okay. And that's
Yep.
where people get drowned, and they drowned in the success of other streamers, right? The
Yeah.
other thing too is the 1 to 5 slot is a really good place to be because people typically will pick that first, 5. They really will.
Yeah.
But I've learned after the last few months, people that are watching the same streamers over and over again. It's like watching the same season of Friends, right? You're kind of like getting burned out on it a little bit, so they
Sure.
want to find something new.
Sure.
And that's where you come in as a streamer.
Right.
And you need to find something that's catchy as a title and just be consistent with what you do.
Be in that second position slot.
Yes,
too,
second
right?
position slot. And you're not going to get a ton of people always following you, but it gives you opportunities.
Right.
Give yourself opportunities to do stuff. And I think what Rod said is good. Talking. I mean, when I first started out talking, I was talking like I had somebody in front of me. The cam thing, it took me a long time to get used to.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you have to talk because people don't want to just sit there and watch my forehead play a game.
Right.
They want to listen to me actually say
Right.
stuff. And, and that could be if your knowledge of the game is really good, et cetera. But the title is key. I really do believe it is a key thing and an element. But knowing where you will land in a game, like on streaming platforms.
Yeah.
So if you've been streaming for 1 to 2 weeks and you consistently have, when you first start, 6 people in, and when you peak, because there are these things, y'all, starting, peaking, and ending.
Yep.
I start off pretty basic, 7 to 10 people, whatever, roughly, right? And then it climbs up and peaks to, hundreds at times. And then it'll slowly fall back down again to where I started at almost. And it depends on what I'm playing and what I'm doing.
Right.
And that's also, keep in mind, this is the analytical me, people have a life too and a schedule.
Yeah.
And that goes, I'm using her again. Pink, love you. Pink, morning coffee with Pink and Cod. People built a routine with her and know exactly when she's going to be on. And that's the biggest thing I could say to people is consistency as much as you can give it, because I'm not. I'm literally baffled that I can't, but it's how it is with me. And then they know where to go. But those are the things that I can highly recommend. And I was watching some of the chat. Take off your Scotty bots. They're pointless.
Yeah.
They are literally going to make you not the person you want to be. Like telling people that they've unfollowed, who cares? It's not that important.
Yeah.
Saying hi to them, that's where you say hello. When they say hello.
When they say hello, right?
When they say hello. Don't just be like, hey, everybody here's just lurking. What's up? Now, if you're saying as a joke, like I do sometimes, like, what's up, my is? You can say so, but don't
Right.
constantly trying to push a conversation on somebody. It's like going on a first date and being like, you want to go home? That ain't going to happen. You know what I mean? No,
Right.
calm down.
Uh-huh. It's a hell of an example for just pushing the follow button, but yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah,
I mean,
like
it
it
is.
is, it is, and I think too, like the conversation about lurkers. I mean, I think at this point, if that's something that you're still doing, I don't know what we can do for you.
Yeah.
If you're still calling out lurkers or you still have it there.
Don't,
Um,
don't.
one of the more impactful conversations that we have ever had, and you kind of broke down, and I think it's a really, really, really good thing to bring up and to talk about. And that is how your stream, and it connects to everything that we've been talking about. But I think if we just go step by step with it, it's
Mm-hmm.
going to be really, really helpful. And
Okay.
that is, you would talk to me, and we had discussed for at length your idea of this, like there's a life cycle to a stream, right? There's the stream like when you're a baby, right? When you're and then there's the stream when you first start crawling around and walking, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then now eventually you kind of you get your legs and stuff like that. And at each stage of, and then eventually, for some lucky people, eventually you get so big that now you truly are in a position where you're just like gaming and you can't even keep up with chat, and that's a whole different thing, right? But now you've gone from a very boutique business to like now it's just a volume business, right?
Yeah. Volume for
um
sure.
Start from the beginning, right? And just some high level thoughts in terms of when you're first starting out. We can just summarize kind of everything that we've talked about. When you're first starting out, what's your approach? And then take us from there.
Okay. So when you first start out your streaming aspect, and I said this already, but I'm going to reiterate it. Be realistic with yourself.
Mm,
Straight up. Don't
yeah.
sit there and lie to yourself and give yourself opinions and give factual thoughts to what you're going to do. Because most of the people I want to say that I know done this, I mean, most of them at least, did it as like a hobby at first. They weren't sure of it. They're very
Yep.
uncertain. If you go into it as an uncertainty, expect unreliable answers and or results. That's
Yep.
how I would perceive it as. I think everybody has at some point, maybe not everybody. I'll take that back, retract.
Mm-hmm.
Xbox screen stream, right?
Right. Right.
Take it from there. I know a partnered streamer right now that has never showed their face one
Yep.
time.
We know them too. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It does not matter. It's
Yeah.
content, and what you do is
Yeah.
networking, right?
Yep.
So I believe, so you're talking about the steps in this. I take it
Yeah.
towards the army side of it: crawl,
Yeah.
walk, run.
Sure. Sure.
That's exactly how I would do it. So the walking
Brief.
portion would be, you now built a time where you're like, I like streaming. It's kind of what I want to do. How can I take it more seriously? Okay. Well, people that watch your stream want quality.
Mm-hmm.
Straight up want quality. You ever been into one of those high tiered streamers and seen bad quality? No, like probably
Right.
never. And if it happens, it's like they're like, what the fuck? And they got to fix it, and they're all about their own agenda. But
Yep.
as far as you got to make a stand for yourself and make a point. So start investing in yourself if you want to take this seriously. And this is where I was going to say this earlier. The moment this becomes a business is when you have to literally file taxes for it.
Yep.
So,
Do you know what that number is?
no, if you get monetized and you get embers, it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't matter. Any embers you get, it could be 10. They can
Right.
try to tax that. I'm pretty sure of it because
They
they make you
could.
fill out a tax.
So generally, the rule of thumb is if you generate $4,000 in revenue. Now it does vary for state, not your CPA. Don't take that as like finite tax
Right.
advice, but it's generally if you generate $4,000 in income from something like this, then that at that point is when you really have to start like getting really serious about taxes and stuff like that.
Yes. I mean, you can. Pink covered this as well.
Because
But
everything else below that is considered a gift. Like
yes, and
strangers
you just got
can
to
still
you
give
got to be
you
monitoring
gifts.
that, y'all. You
Yeah.
got to make sure to take care of yourself
Yeah,
first.
but
But
please check with your state and local tax laws, please.
yes,
But
please.
that's generally a good rule of thumb. It's generally between $4,000 and $5,000. If you're going to generate more than that, now not reporting that, you're in trouble, or you have the potential to be in some trouble. Everything before that can be considered a gift, right?
Yes,
Or just
and
a series of gifts.
so invest in yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
Don't go and buy Best Buy's everything.
Yeah.
Don't go do that.
Yep.
Don't Amazon shop until you're broke, okay?
Yep.
Just invest little pieces at a time. Because what's going to happen is two things. One, you're going to not like streaming anymore. It's not what you thought it was. And you're going to be invested in so much shit that you're like, can I return it? Can
Mm-hmm.
you though? And then you're going to be stuck.
Yeah.
Or you can invest little piece by little piece and see where it takes you from there.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised.
Yeah.
Plus, I mean, that's how I saw it. So one of the last things, and probably should have been the first thing I bought, was a PC. That was to help my streaming aspect out. So as far as the run side of stuff, I think that comes down to your creativity.
Mm-hmm.
100%. What you want to give to the audience in your community, however you want to word that, what you're going to deliver to them to make them see you as a person, right? But then you're
Yeah.
building a community, y'all. I mean, straight up, you're building a network of friendships through gaming. Some that you might not be friendly with at all times, but you're still building something with somebody or somebodies, and
Mm-hmm.
that's how I see it. I mean, I've come really close to not just my mods, but people that I didn't really game with too much, and now they're in here all the time, and we're talking, we're laughing and cutting up. I mean, you've been the same way. You said it earlier. You're talking about some of the guys that top or the Cook and Cree that you haven't got to see too much because you live in different places.
Mm-hmm.
I have a good friend that lives in Tennessee that I started gaming with. I swear to God, like 7 years ago. Right? I've never met him one time, and I text him like he's my best friend.
Yeah.
And that's where gaming comes into it, right? But
Yeah.
the streaming aspect of it is be realistic with your expectations and don't invest so much that you like bankrupt yourself because you think you're getting a paycheck.
Yeah.
And that goes in and again ties in what's your objective or what's your goals for like the streaming world?
Yeah.
Like, are you just trying to make friends or are you trying to make money?
And
Black and
also,
white. Are you
from like a mindset standpoint, you cannot set your expectations based on you,
yeah.
not what you see everybody else is doing. And I'll give you a great example, right? An example directly from streaming, right? So talking to a streamer, right? And this streamer had told me that, you know what? They go, if I can just get like 5 people watching me on average, like in the first like 3-4 months of this, I'm going to be really, really happy. And I'm sitting there and I come back like the next day, or I come back sometime later after that, and he's all down in the dumps. He's all like, down and just it's really affected his mood, right? Something's really affected. And I go, what is the deal? And he goes, well, I don't have as many as this other person does, right? Like, and they've been doing it for like a similar amount of time, and I just don't have that yet. And I'm like, well, how many viewers do you have right now? Like, look how many viewers you have right now. And he had 10. And this is, free coaching here, right? If you want to improve your mindset. He essentially told me that I'm going to ask the world for 5. And then the world responds and says, I'm going to return him 2x. And he's not happy. And it affects his mood, it affects his mindset, affects his motivation, affects what he does.
100%.
And the only reason that happened was because he allowed what somebody else was doing in comparison, right? Which we don't have time to go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah.
But comparison is 100% the death of happiness. And that's a great example because
Yes,
you
don't.
just asked the world for 5. The world, I want to make $20,000 next year. I make 40 and I'm pissed because the neighbor made 65. That's essentially what you're saying.
100%.
So
Yes.
it's not just a matter of setting expectations, but stick with them, because this ride of streaming and the ride of building a business is way too long to get down and to get negative because the world's giving you 2x for what you asked for.
Yes. I think what makes people better at streaming, this is my opinion, y'all, is vulnerability on your personal levels, being who you are and showing people that you're offering yourself up in some sense. Because there's a lot of them out there that are watching you that are viewers just to view, but they're streamers as
Mhm.
well. Hence this whole conversation we're having and people that are in here taking probably notes if they wanted to. Be that person that you are. And I guarantee you, like you said, Tati, you might not always get what you think. I'm thinking I'll make a couple friends, and then you make 4 and be upset about it.
Mhm.
But you
Because somebody
have,
else has 7.
and don't ever take yourself in a comparison of another person. If I did that, I'd be lost and drowned in the sauce, man. Because I'm very
Yeah.
competitive, y'all. No,
Mhm.
yeah, okay, competitive, okay. But it's not about that, and that's kind of why I do the things that I do on my stream, and that
Yeah.
varies from other people's streams.
Yeah.
And you were talking about some of the stuff, and I was reading over the notes we were talking about before. The analytical side of it, I look through people's streams. I watch past streams. I watch YouTube. I'll watch them live. and I'll see where they've either succeeded or failed, and I'll take both in
Yeah.
consideration and apply them to my own ways to see if they are successful or not. And sometimes they'll backfire,
Yeah.
but that's where it's trial and error. And don't be afraid of trying to do new things to be growing with other people or being successful for yourself, because then you're just short-sighting yourself. There's no reason for that.
Hmm.
But it just ties in hand with like what your expectations are of streaming.
Yeah.
Really.
And so you get started, and obviously like a big part of that life cycle of the stream is like it directly impacts like the games that you probably should be in, right? Like if you're just starting and you've got 750 or less, going to play Warzone when it first comes out, probably not going to get a lot of traction, right? When you've got, because again, I mean, I think we tested it the other day, you're quite literally, the phone doesn't scroll far enough to get to you,
No, it doesn't.
right?
It does
It
not.
stops.
Stops, y'all. Take Toppy's, what we're talking about. It does, man. You can get I know one streamer, not going to mention who it is, that did something we're talking about. And out of like winning the lottery, basically, I'm not, no bullshit. Okay. They got hosted by somebody who was pretty big. But that's just that's the chance you take
Right.
unless you're
Right.
trying to have
Right.
consistency in your stream.
Yeah.
It's literally like gambling. No bullshit. It's the gambling.
I'm gonna
That's all
challenge
it
you
is.
here. How much do you think that somebody, maybe that's like first starting out in like their first like 3-4 months, how much should they be streaming?
It's not about how much.
Okay.
If it could be, I would say no minimum than 2 hours, right?
Sure.
No max. You don't have to push it past 4. I would guess if I have to put a number, but
Would you
what
go
I've,
past 4 when you're first starting out?
oh God, yeah. I was so,
Okay.
it wasn't even because I was thinking about streaming. That's my problem, probably what it was. I wasn't thinking about streaming. I was just so into my games that I
Yeah.
didn't realize that I'd be streaming for 8, 9 hours at a
Sure.
time.
Sure.
And
Sure.
I didn't have any idea. But what I would make sure y'all know that like I recap it on is like a TV show, it comes on at Sunday at 8. Well, if
Yes.
people know that about you, they'll know to be there. But if you're not there and you say you're going to be there, they're not going to start showing up. But that's where Discords, Twitter,
Yeah.
Instagram, all these other aspects of social media that advise your audience or your community, however you word that, when you're going to be doing stuff. Because as you probably all know, there is an about me section in everybody's stream. If they fill it
Mm-hmm.
out, it's up to them. And I highly recommend, if you do anything, give an intro about yourself and give a
Yeah.
schedule at the bare minimum.
Yeah.
Bare minimum. It needs to be those 2 things so
Yeah.
people understand.
And I think too, that is something that, we've said, and I still see people do it where the schedule's just erratic. Right. And that gets really challenging. And also, I mean,
Yes.
let me ask you this. How beneficial in your mind are like these 24-hour streams that you see people do when they first start out, like these like 16, 18, 20, 22-hour just benders of streaming?
Most of the reasons, okay, there's 2 aspects of this. 2 sides of the coin, y'all. People that do 24-hour streams typically are doing it. Well, sorry, there might be 3 sides here. They're doing it because they're doing like a hosted charity event, which is
Sure.
great.
Sure.
That's awesome. I can get down with that. I
Right.
understand that.
So excluding that one.
The other one would be just because they're trying to make a statement, and our streaming community has put it as, this is what is expected of us. It's like that. This is the new trend. You need to be doing this 24-hour stream. If you haven't done one, you're not a real streamer. That's bullshit. You're a real streamer. Trust me. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Nextly, it moves on to who the hell hosted them.
Sure.
I've said it, and I'm not gonna lie. If I got hosted by Ninja, I would literally take the advantage of that. And that's what people do. It's not because they wanted to stream 24 hours. They chose
Right.
to because they know that that person that hosted them is not going to be on for a while. And they will ride out that number 1 to number 4 spot for 24 hours.
Sure.
And now you've
Sure.
gotten a shit ton
Sure.
of exposure with everybody across
Yeah.
the world. Remember, Mixer's not just local to the United States, y'all.
Mm-hmm.
So now you're going through continents of different time zones with that leadership follow or
Yeah.
that leadership views at the top. And
Yeah.
you've consistently held it for hours.
But
You built
so I'm
another
going to
part.
challenge you here a little bit. How helpful is that? Because because I mean, I'll be honest with you. How sustainable are these 18, 20, 22-hour streams? Because like at some point, like I think you just like, and maybe I'm on an island here, but I think that it's so counterproductive to just stream for 12, 14, 16 hours at a time. Because I don't know how you maintain the quality of your stream, the quality of your energy. The other side of it is you're not going to stay in those 16-hour streams, like in perpetuity, like forever. Right.
No, no, no,
So
no.
you're hitting like 3 different unique demographics that you put all this time and all this effort into the 16-hour stream, but you can't continue to
Nope.
serve all those people.
I will not run on Red Bull, Monster, any of those
Well,
concepts.
yeah.
So, like you said, what I would do, and this is where I say I take fun facts from different streamers, and I've
Hmm.
seen people do stuff to 20. No, no. What top you just said, I will completely agree with. Energy.
Yeah.
So when you bring your energy and you don't even look at your numbers, it
Yeah.
will just escalate. It's
Yeah.
crazy. Don't even focus on it. So if you get
Yeah.
hosted like that, I've already got a plan. I would literally just stream like I normally do, maybe with
Hmm.
an exception of a couple more hours, etc. But and then say my thank yous because I'm more than humbled, but not expose an audience of just I'm so tired. I can't stream this game. That bullshit. I'd literally keep it to where it's fresh, entertaining, and if I knew I was falling apart on it, I would say my departs and be like, thank you,
And you
thank
would
you very much,
stop, and
and then
that's
stop.
the important part there, right? Because again, I mean, give me 5 or 6 hours of a really high quality stream
Yeah.
versus 22 to 24 hours where like you can't even see straight and like you're barely looking at the chat anymore,
I
you
mean, but
know?
here's what it comes down to when we use Ninja as an example. His chat consistently moves, but I guarantee you, in the falls of stuff, and those people that are in there, they've just got his tab open and probably forgot, or God knows what. There's not the same people always talking, obviously, but
Right.
in your concept, if you're getting hosted like that, it's no different. People are
Right.
probably listening to you, but they're not going to stay in your channel for hours on end and talk to you.
Well,
I mean,
yeah,
I,
and
I
even and
don't
odds
don't
are
believe that.
when you're first starting out, you're probably not going to come by a host of that size that's going to throw you into the
Actually,
number
I know
one
somebody
as
did.
often. Well, okay, one person that
I
did,
do
but
one. I know one out of a
are we going to
million.
hang our hat on one? You know?
And that comes down to that thing I was telling you about with games played and where you're at in the position of games.
Right.
Seriously, and
Right.
it's like I said, gambling, lottery, whatever you're gonna word it as, but that
Yeah.
sometimes happens for people.
Yeah. And so, I mean, I
Yes,
think they're like, especially early on, find games that certainly that you like to play and that you enjoy,
yes,
but
yes.
also take a look at, hey, what's the viewership, and then click on that. And if it, you had kind of talked about like the sweet spot a little bit was, take like Rocket League, right? Like generally Rocket
Yes.
League will hold, even in the peak hours, like 500 to 800 people viewing it. But you go look and you see who's at the top, and maybe the top person only has like 46 viewers in that time, depending on the time slot or whatever it is. Well, that might be a great game for you if you're holding at 20 and you can
Mhm.
slide into that number 3 spot, right?
Yes. God, yes,
So
yes, yes, yes.
that's the lesson, right?
I'm gonna add one last thing, and I won't go farther into it. The
Sure.
time frame of the day. I
Oh
got lucky
God, yeah,
before being in this COVID thing, which I hope everybody's staying safe, that I got
yeah,
the stream at like 2, 3 in the afternoon.
yeah.
Those are prime hours,
Oh
y'all.
God, they are. They're so good.
They're
I mean,
prime
just look at the
hours.
numbers. Everybody just look at, like, let's say, look at like Apex Legends and look at the number of players. And this is why Pink just slaughters the world, right? In that
Mm-hmm.
morning slot.
Mm-hmm.
Because you look at, and it's like I wake up, it's like 9 o'clock. You got like 19, 2,000, 2,100 people, right? Playing Apex Legends.
Mm-hmm.
Then you move into, and that'll hold, right? That'll hold all the way through, like, I'm out here in Denver, so mountain time, right? So that'll hold until like 5 o'clock out here. Then everybody gets off from work, gets home, and fires it up. And that number will go from 2,100 up to like 7,000 in
Yeah.
some nights, and your ability to just get anything out of that is so limited. So yeah, time of day is critical, and
It's
again,
crucial.
not everybody has the luxury,
No, no. But if you
but
can take advantage of it, please do. That's what made
100%.
me, I think, helpful is I got those 2 to 3 o'clock afternoon slots open,
Yeah.
and I got to jump up in a position because people are still at work and they have Mixer up, no bullshit,
Yep.
and they wanted to watch.
Yeah.
I was very fortunate. So take whatever you can out of that concept, y'all. But it is
Yeah.
time.
I think that breaks that down. I think one of the things that, and we have been considering it, and I think you hear a lot of people talk about them. Do you go to them? Do you not? Or do you get value from them? What's the value that you can get? What are some of the restrictions? These big conferences such as PAX, right?
Oh yeah.
And you have recently gone to PAX, right? Um, what was your experience like there? I mean, thinking from like a business or a strategy standpoint, what was the experience like for you at PAX?
Business wise, it's how much you insert yourself. That
Okay.
whole likable thing,
Yeah.
it takes you as far as you can. You cannot be afraid to be in social.
Okay.
Like people that hide behind the camera, they act one way and they talk a certain way. You have to be exactly more than that at times. You need to go shake hands and say what's
Right.
up. You can't just be afraid because it's not going to help you. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's some people out there I didn't know
Sure.
in packs, like people that are partnered streamers. So I mean, it's kind of those things I was like, they might have walked right by me and they've been like really a popular partnered streamer. I had no idea.
Right. Right.
But as far as PAX goes, I think if anybody, it's just an experience as all, you should at least attend one. Even
Okay.
if it's not for a streaming success moment in your life, it's one of those things that if you're a gamer and you kind of got a nerd in you, which I'm sure
Yeah.
you do,
Yeah.
go take advantage of it. I mean,
Yeah.
I
I
had
mean,
a
what are
lot
the
of fun
what are the
doing that.
potential upsides there from,
Yep.
and again, when do you feel like it would probably be a good time for a channel to go try and, capitalize on some of those upsides?
Not PAX South. PAX South is really small. It is
Sure.
good in a sense, but as far as networking and growth for your business and like this streaming, the other PAX, I don't know which ones per se, but I know I've heard a lot of word of mouth from other partner streamers like, Tangy, Pink, those two. I
Mm-hmm.
think even Queenie, when I was listening to her chat.
Yeah.
So, East and West, those are going to be bigger.
Sure.
I do believe in, even though if you're an Xbox player and a PlayStation player, dabble in some PC
Yeah.
because when I went to that event, it was saturated in PC plays. Like if I had a chance to be a PC gamer at all and show my skill out in person versus behind a streaming setup, it'd have been
Mm-hmm.
helpful. But I
Sure.
didn't have that, knowledge. I didn't know. So
Sure.
dabble in some PC, even if it's for BS, man.
Yeah.
So set yourself up for that. There is a lot. I wouldn't suggest going to the event every day.
Mm-hmm.
I say pick maybe 1 to 2 days that you want to go because it's
Sure.
it's a lot to do, obviously, but pick the things that are going to benefit from you. One, on a success point, like for your business, right? And then
Right.
two, just to network and socialize. That I honestly think where people fail to grow is because they don't get personal and like just like want to go talk to people to talk to them, like
Right.
actually get to
Right.
know them. They want to
Right.
like go, what is this and how do I do that, and like use them for success or whatever the case is. Like actually want to talk to them.
Mm-hmm.
That's the upside to it and the
Yeah.
downside to it, I guess you could say.
Sure. Sure. So there's, I mean, massive networking opportunity. What's the challenge of PAX?
Um, Inserting yourself to
Okay.
I hate to say it, y'all. Mixer is a click straight up.
Sure.
How to get in, how do you get your foot in the door with people that are known or not, really big, but big enough to know the other bigger players and get to
Yeah.
know people and timing, like just getting to know people in general. But that comes down to like inserting yourself into situations that give you opportunities.
Yeah. And also, and again, that's not the first time, probably won't be the last that I
No,
hear of the clickiness.
no,
And again, that happens in a lot of industries, right? Again, it's back to the whole like who you know and how that can be frustrating. So I think it probably is a really big challenge when you go to these events to not get so bogged down in that and
yeah.
then just try and seek out the opportunities that do come, right? Because there are some upsides to it.
No, I agree. No, there is some upsides, and it was just a fun overall experience. In
Yeah.
general, being in San Antonio, I mean, I've never been, so it was great.
Sure.
Don't stay at the Holiday Inn down the street from the actual convention center. Apparently, I didn't know that was like the wrong place to stay. It was an old
Okay.
prison.
Sure.
That was kind
Oof.
of creepy.
Uh-huh.
That was cool. Had no idea. Booked it, thought it was
Right.
really cool because it was like less than a mile from the place. I'm like, sweet. We don't have to get a car. We can just
Right.
walk down there.
Right. Little did you know.
Oh my God. Night
Yeah.
and day difference across the railroad tracks, basically what it
Oh
was, man.
man. Yeah.
Whew. Mm.
Okay. What would your
Um,
advice be to people that go down there? Like if you just kind of had to wrap it all up and specifically with dealing with, obviously there are going to be some barriers and people are going to have kind of their groups formed and their safety nets formed. What's your advice for those people?
you are only going to fail by the ways that you don't give yourself opportunities to be successful. If you're afraid of being told no, you're never going to get growth.
Yeah.
Oh, a
Yeah.
closed mouth does not get fed.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you
Mm.
have to open your mouth. You have to vocalize yourself. I'm not saying be an ass, but go
Right.
out and be who you are. And that's where that cliquish thing comes in. It comes into part because you noticed when you go into a streaming channel that the audience that's watching kind of falls in hand with the personality of the person streaming.
Mm-hmm. I
That's the
do.
click. That's the
Yeah.
cliquish part of it. So you're gonna
Right.
have people.
It's groupthink.
It's
Right.
it is, but that's where personalities conflict. That's where you can
Right.
tell if your personality is going to mesh with that community. So that goes in hand with packs. When you walk up to a group of people, are you going to be able to fit in? And
Yeah.
like, I hate to say that,
Right.
y'all, but this is
Like if
society.
that's not really your cup of tea or not really your community on
Yes,
Mixer, it's almost certainly not going to be in real life.
100%.
Right. That's really
And
good
you have
advice,
to have
actually.
relatable, real, I'd say life situations and stuff in a sense of like finding a way to connect with anybody is a hard thing, but you need to, need to know how to do it. And
Yeah.
it doesn't matter what it is.
Yeah, and understand too, like there's just some doors that just aren't going to be open to you,
No,
and you can
100%. There's people.
continue to get bogged down and allow that to affect you negatively and affect your business negatively,
Yes.
or it is what it is, and you just keep her moving. You know.
Yeah, no, 100%. You
Yeah.
you you got to learn to take the good with the bad and keep moving. I agree with that. And PAX is one of those things that if you guys can take advantage of it, take advantage of it. The life experience in general, even if you're not
Yeah.
taking streaming seriously, it's still
Yeah.
one of those things that's really
Yeah.
awesome to do.
I think too, like there's such a, it's so Mixer is in general from a community standpoint, it is a lot more like we've met some amazing people that we
Yeah.
would have never met before. And honestly, why not, like if you're gonna go, coordinate with some of those people. Hey, let's just all
Yeah,
like if we're all gonna go to one, let's just all go to the same one. And that at least makes it and that doesn't mean that like you've just formed like your own immovable clique either. But I
no.
do think that helped, that would
No,
help,
no, you
right?
have a better time in groups, hands down.
100%.
Besides
Yeah.
going by yourself, because that's scary as shit. Go with people that
Which
you
you
know
did,
from
by the way,
Mixer.
right?
Yeah,
You went with Shavik, right?
I went with Shavik, and it
Yeah.
wasn't bad.
Right.
I did get offered before asking Shavik to go from Tangy. He's like, "Hey man, you can drive down with us, stay at our place." I was like, "Damn, I really would like to, but I'm going with Shavik."
Right.
So I mean, and those are opportunities that presented. I still hung out with the guy, good guy.
Right.
But you're right. Groups will have more fun in atmospheres like that. You will
Yeah.
stick out. It'll bring energy to the places that you go. You won't feel as nervous. You'll be more of yourself. It will help, hands down.
Awesome.
And that's one of the mistakes I did. I didn't bring people. I tried to, but it does conflict. The people that I did ask, they have a lifetime, stuff going on, and they couldn't just drop things going and whatnot, even if it was planned
Right.
out. You never
Right.
know because that's how
Yeah.
life goes.
Yeah.
The next time we go, yeah, I'm going to do everything I can do to have more people go. It'd be great.
Absolutely. Yeah. Awesome. It is time for the final four. So
Dun,
these are
dun,
four. These
dun!
are, yeah, we should at some point, again, we'll get a little bit more production into this, but this works for now. Final four. We end this show. We end every show with these four questions. The questions are meant to challenge the streamer. There are going to be many times where we probably cover the topics, but it's a good way to kind of, if there's four big things that you want to walk away with, this would be the segment to watch. So, first question, Havoc, you ready?
Yes.
All right. So, if you could go back and change one decision you've made in your streaming career, what would it be and why?
As far as my streaming career, what it would be is don't get offended. Who I hung out with at first, and because it really set me up for failure because I chose the wrong group of people to hang out with. And they might be successful now, but those are the sharks that I dealt with.
Yeah.
So I highly make sure if you're going to do anything in your atmosphere of streaming to really safeguard yourself, not to have trust issues, but it's your business, however you want to run that or not. And make sure you make the wise decision on doing your research and getting to know people because it's hard to do behind the internet anyways. But that was
100%.
my biggest issue. I could hands down like that was my biggest issue when I first started. I chose the wrong people to be involved with and
Yep.
it backfired on me and it actually cost me physically money and
Sure.
won't go back down that road. So if you ever have any questions about that, you come talk to me and I'll help you out. Okay.
Perfect.
Okay.
Number two, if you were to restart your stream tomorrow from scratch, what is the first thing that you would do?
Make a better intro.
Yeah.
God, yes,
Okay.
man. I want an intro to my stream that's fucking just like, I
Okay.
watch
Sure.
so many cool ones and I'm like, damn, that's so awesome.
Sure.
But I'm not tech savvy. I know I could be self-taught in some ways, but I'm not a guru like that. And unfortunately, I'm gonna have to pay somebody to help me out with it. So
All
that would
right.
be great to have. If I could start over from like day one, it'd be, man, tell the younger version, hey dude, pay attention to this. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You need an intro because just like advertisement, that right there is like people are like, yeah, Like, oh, I know it's about to start. It's about to go down in
Right,
here. Let's
right.
go.
Oh
I don't
man.
have that.
All right, number 3. If you had the power to change one thing about the streaming industry, what would that thing be?
Hmm. mm, Making people realize that I know streaming, and this is my opinion. I know it's for some, it's a sole purpose of income. And I used to sell cars, so I know what a sales job is like, and I know what unstable income comes like. I get it,
Yep.
but I think maybe Ninja said it in a sense, bringing it back, bringing gaming to what it was back to, or streaming or something. I kind of say that in my own twist, which is I believe streaming should be more gaming. People LFGing should be gone. It should be people involving themselves as gaming, like bringing
Sure.
it to that route,
Okay.
content.
As opposed to the direction that it's gone now.
Yeah, we've built ourselves this facade, like people have changed the streaming aspect, and that's cool. They have, good or bad. But as for me, I want people to be able to game. That's why we have a platform after platform and PC, right? And
Yep.
then you got tons of games to play, man.
Yeah.
Play those games with people. Save people. Like save people. People need some saving, y'all. Okay.
Mhm.
And games do help. Trust. All right.
Love it.
Build a bond.
All right. Number 4 and my personal favorite. So, what do you think sets apart successful streamers from those who give up, fail, or never get started?
Mm. Well, Bob. See what happened is the ones that fail, to me personally, they gave up too quick. And if they said, "Oh, it's been 6 months," remember
Yeah.
Shroud streamed for a year by himself.
And that would connect back to expectations, but go on.
Okay.
Yep.
Yes. So I don't give up on yourself, because if you give up on it because you think you're a failure, then that's the mindset you came in with it before you even realized it. Don't do
Right.
that.
Right.
Right. And if you needed help, look at me, part time, doing my own thing. It's networking, right? Ask for help. Don't ever be afraid of asking for help from anybody. I don't care how big or small they are. Everybody has insight at some specific point that is valid.
Yeah. I
Use
love
it.
it.